Welcome to Chapter 7. This is a video for WriteLatin.org using the Lingua Latina per se illustrata curriculum, and today we are going to learn everything about datives. In this video, we're going to go through 3, maybe 4 PowerPoints. Now, if you are following my curriculum, then you have not learned first and second person in the verbal endings yet, so you will use the 3 PowerPoint links below that come first. However, if you're just using this for datives in general, for some other curriculum, and you already know all the persons and numbers of, OST, mustus, NT, not just T and NT, but all 6 of them, then you're going to use the next group of 3 links below that, because that group of 3 links has these same 3 PowerPoint presentations, except that it has all 6 persons and numbers, whereas ours only covers 2. We will get the other 4 later in Chapter 15, but right now here in Chapter 7 we don't have those yet. So use the set of links that is appropriate to you. First, we're all going to do a giving tree PowerPoint, which is an overview of the dative case and how it compares to the ablative case. Then we're going to break up into our 2 groups depending what set of PowerPoints you're using, and we're going to learn intransitive verbs and do a series of drills for mastering intransitive verbs. Once we've got that, then we can add in an accusative also and do verbs taking indirect objects. Object of an intransitive verb and indirect object are the 2 big functions of the dative. So we're going to hit both of those functions today and make you a master or mistress of that. And then lastly, I'll introduce the 4th PowerPoint, which is something you can drill with yourself in your spare time if you want to go to that extent. All right, so the first thing I want you to do is go to any writing assignment like this and click Grammar Charts, the G, and that will take you to this, and set the slider at the top to 7, and that will put in yellow the things that we are going to be learning this chapter. So you can see these forms here: I, O, Is, Miki, Tibi, Nobis, Wobis, Sibi. Go back to your syllabus, and what I want you to do is scroll all the way down to Chapter 7 and download all 4 of these PowerPoint presentations that are here, or at least the first 3. Don't just do them on Google Docs, but actually hit the little down arrow at the top right corner so that it will download it onto your system, and then open them in your system. And once you're there, then you can go to the slideshow tab and hit play from slide or play from start. First off, I'm going to introduce you to the dative case. It's contrasted with the ablative. The ablative is from, or better yet, by, meaning the doer of the action. Dative is to or for, meaning by that the ultimate beneficiary or recipient of the action. So between these 2 cases, we kind of have the source in the ablative and the goal or the target or the recipient in the dative. And the 2 cases are very similar. In the plurals, you will almost never see an ablative ever be different from a dative. They will be identical, and that's why teachers call it the dablative case, whatever. So filiis, filiis. So ab filiis, from the kids, filiis, to or for the kids. Okay, so rule number 1 is that for masculines, direction does not matter. Ab filio, from the son, filio, to or for the son. But for feminines, it does matter. So far you've had ab filia, from the daughter, but now in dative case it's going to be filii, to or for the daughter. So notice this I ending is identical to the genitive singular. So for girls, genitive and dative singular, as well as nominative plural, are all the same, at least written on the page. They are, of course, spoken differently. And then, of course, in the plurals, as we already saw, direction doesn't matter. From the daughters to the daughters. All right, so that leaves us with 3 homophones for the feminine gender. We have filii, the daughters. Then in the genitive singular, we have malum filii, apple of the daughter, and then filii, to or for the daughter. Notice I say the genitive one with a higher pitch, which makes it more clear that that's a possessor. And the ablative would be a lower pitch because that makes it more clear that it's a circumstance, or in this case, a source. Then in the masculine singulars, from the sun to the sun. No written difference. Although I would say the ablative filio in a lower pitch. So that was our general introduction to the general concept of dative case. Now that we've got all the cases, we can briefly summarize the basic theory of cases. Okay, so this far we've kind of thought of the various cases as doing these general roles. Okay, if you imagine the action as going from left to right across the page, then the nominative was the doer or source. The accusative is there and is the done to. And it's kind of like a piece of the verb which you see surrounding it here in orange. Ablative was like the circumstances supporting or being the stage or the background or the environment in which the action occurs. And then the genitive was the possessor up high. Of any one of these other items in the sentence. But now we're going to get dative, which is kind of like the end or the goal or the target or the recipient or the beneficiary. All right, so in this chapter we're going to learn two functions of the dative. Indirect object is the main one, which is 80% of all datives, and then object of an intransitive verb is a rare one, which is only used in about 10% of datives. So now we're just going to learn datives as objects of intransitive verbs, which means we're not going to use accusatives today, which makes it simpler. It's not so complex. Okay, so first off, we have to note that we're not doing third declension in these PowerPoints because we don't get those till chapter 9. Now this will be fine if you're doing my curriculum, but if you're doing some other curriculum, I'm sorry, I have no services for you for doing third declension. You'll just have to learn those two endings on your own because this video is only covering these two declensions. Now people using my curriculum don't know all these endings yet. In particular, they're just going to get dative today. And so first we have to know what kinds of verbs can take a dative, because it's not a lot. There's just a few verbs that can take a dative. And so the first group are called intransitive verbs. And there are really just 4 big ones in Latin. And the first 2 here are the only 2 that we have in this chapter. The others I just put in for whoever else is doing this. So to favor or to please are intransitive verbs. In English, intransitive verbs are pretty much biological processes that don't take any object at all, like to grow up. You don't grow up something, do you? No, you just grow up right where you're standing. Or to laugh. You don't laugh something, do you? No, you just laugh. Okay, so that's what intransitive verbs are in English. But in Latin, intransitive verbs are verbs that don't take an accusative. So these 4 verbs here, you would think they would take an accusative, like to favor someone. You would think that that someone would be in the accusative, wouldn't you? Well, you would, but you'd be wrong, because it's going to be right here in the dative. So that's why you're going to need to learn the dative case now, because sometimes we run into these 4 verbs. And look at the character of these verbs. Favor, please, trust. All these are kind of like ethereally willful things. They're kind of fuzzy and abstract, certainly mental processes. Now respond down there isn't, but I don't think respond is a intransitive verb. I think it's a compound verb, which would also incidentally take a dative, but that's a whole different story. But in any case, for some reason, some people call respond an intransitive verb, so that's why I put it in this group here. But, you know, it's probably not. Yeah, any verb with a prefix like pre or pro or anti or something like, or ab, all those are called compound verbs, and they can sometimes take datives. But that's kind of like a really, really high expert level of Latin, and we're not going to cover that in this course. So in any case, the first function we're going to deal today at the dative level is datives as objects of intransitive verbs. And the endings you're going to be using today are principally I, O, and Es. And I don't have a particularly good way of how to say datives. I'm not exactly sure how you would say them, so I just say them normally. I don't say them with like a high pitch like genitives or with a low pitch like ablatives. I just say them normally. If you yourself have some idea or a theory of how datives should be distinctively said, I would love to know that down in the comments, but I myself have not made up my mind about that. But what is distinctive about datives is that although they talk about the final goal, the final recipient, the last person in the chain of causality, yet the dative word itself often comes very early in the sentence. Now, why is that? Well, it's because what do you think about as a human being agent as you're working? First, you think about me, the doer, and then the next thing you think about is the ultimate end, way off in the future. You know, and this is what Aristotle says, the final end is the first thing planned. So that's why we're going to say that, see that datives often come as the second word in the sentence. I unto Caesar trust. I to you an apple will give. I for Caesar to build a bridge am able. Something like that. Or I to Julia an apple will give. You would think you would say first the apple, I will give an apple to Julia, the way we do in English, right? Well, yeah, but no, it's the reverse in Latin. First you say Julia as the final recipient, then you say the apple being given. So, it's a different syntactical word order. Oh boy, this will be fun. Okay, so now your sentences are going to get wild. Wild. Okay, so we don't use these endings here, and instead the endings we're going to use today are just T and NT, like plaquet, he, she pleases, and placent, they please. Or fawet, she favors, fawent, they favor. Okay, so here are my persons and numbers. Ego and tu we haven't learned yet, so they'll disappear soon. Is, ea, ei, he, she, they. And they is, you notice, blue because anytime you have a group of multiple people and even one of them is a guy, then you use a masculine pronoun. If they were all girls, you'd use a feminine one. But okay, so ego is first person, tu is second person, and these were the lines in the chart that were blotted out, so you don't need to worry about these. They're going to disappear. And third person is all that we are using today, unless you use the 3 links below to download the other set of PowerPoints that do all 3 persons. So these 2 are gone. We're not going to get those until chapter 15. All we're doing today is third person. So ei fawent, they favor, or is fawet, he favors, or ea fawet, she favors. And if it was 2 girls, so now it's all girls in the group, then it would be ei fawet. Hopefully you know these personal pronouns, is, ea, ei, ei. If you don't know them, then go to this address here or click on its link in the description below this video. And this is the grammar charts, and set it to chapter 7, and then scroll down to chart 11a, and you should know these endings, except for the 2 yellow ones, which we are learning this chapter. So there's your grammar charts, where you can learn all these pronouns. So ea fawet, she favors, is fawet, he favors, and ei fawent, they favor. How wonderful. Or ei fawent, they favor. All right, we're breaking the system. Isn't this crazy? Okay, this is like the video games when I was a kid. All right. So now that we've covered all bases for intransitive verbs and the pronouns that start them, then we're ready to add a dative. And remember, this dative is going to do the function of an object of an intransitive verb. Now, what's an intransitive verb again? I hope you remember from 2 slides back, but it's one of those like plaquet or fawet or created or respondent. So, and the example is she to Marcus pleases. Now, we don't say the to usually. We just say in English, she pleases Marcus. So that's the way the word order would go in English. But we don't want to think in English way. We want to do it just the way the Latin is. So kind of ignore the arrows here. Literally, it's like she unto Marcus pleases. And Marco, of course, is the dative object. I'm using neon blue for datives today. All right, so this is the way it's going to work. Here's your 2 doers on the right, and in the background here are all your potential dative objects. Or at least they will be dative if you make them dative, and that's what you need to do. You need to make them dative. So we're going to say she pleases to the boy. That's what I want you to say. Now, how would you say that? Well, boy is masculine, right? And so you would go to your chart and go down masculine, and there's only one of him, so we do the singulars up high, not the plurals down low, and the ending you need to stick on him is O. Okay, so let's think about how we would do that. Like that. Bang. You want to see it again? Okay, so she, ea, puero marco, and then finish with your verb, placet. Ea puero marco placet. She pleases the boy Marcus. She unto the boy Marcus pleases. All right, what if she pleases the servants? Ea servis davo medoque. What? Placet. Very good. So hopefully you get the hang of this. Now, it would be better to not go with me, but just to download this Objects of Intransitive Verbs PowerPoint in the link below the video and go through all these drills yourself without me. But if you can't do that, then here we go. Let's just do it ourselves. All right, so you tell me the answer. I'll pause briefly so you can attempt it before I show you the answer for all of these. So for all of these, I'll put it up like this, and now I'll pause. And this is when you should be thinking about what the whole sentence would be. And then after a pause, I'll put up the answer. Like that. Okay? Pretty simple. And your goal is to get perfect 100% before each and every one of these. Because we're going to go nice and slow and in order and slowly add on stuff as we go. Now, we already did this one. Right? Good. Okay. So he pleases the Master Julius. Now we're going to do a plural. Oh boy. What would that be? Is ent. Good. Oh, what if we have two girls pleasing the little girl? What would that one be? Pretty easy. All right, so that wasn't too hard, was it? Now you're already operating with the datives. Of course, it's just indirect objects. Boy, I don't know why I made this stupid PowerPoint. I'm sorry. Okay. All right, next. Now we're going to use personal pronouns as our datives. Things like to me, to you, to he, she, or it, or even at ease, to them. So here's the ones we're going to use. Now, if you're going with me, we don't know this first line yet. But I think if you check your grammar charts, you should know all the rest of these left two columns here. Except the yellows, of course, which is what we're getting today. So what do these mean? Mihi, to or for me. Tibi, to or for you. Ei, to or for him, her, or it. Sibi, to or for oneself or selves, plural. This is just up here because it can do double duty. Nobis, to or for us. Wobis, to or for y'all. And eis, to or for them. Now, there are a couple tricks here to remember these. Look down here in the plural. Dative and ablative are forever and ever, amen, always identical in the plurals. So some Latin teachers will refer to this as the dablative case. Dablative, because get it, like dative and ablative. Dablative. But it only works in the plurals. But up in the singulars here, you're going to look at these and say, ah, Mr. Rudman, what's going on? We have a short I, and a long I, and then another short I. Ah! Okay, so don't panic too much. What these really are, you'll get much better at later, but it's important that you learn them now, because these are really third declension endings. Now, in third declension, they are long, so don't really know why they're short here. But, oh well, besides that, having an I there as the sign of the dative, as the sign of 2 or 4, is very standard in Latin, and you're going to learn it way much more in chapter 9 with the third declension. Over here on the right, etius, if you look at etius, you have never seen that. You should be flipping out when you see that as the genitive. The reason for that is because this is a class, a small exception of 13 adjectives called the naughty 9. And they are naughty because they have this characteristic exception that they make their genitive singular and dative singular differently. So of him, of her, of it, 2 or 4 him, 2 or 4, 2 or 4 it. Now if you want to know the naughty 9, the way you remember it is unus nauta. They are unus nolus olus solus, neuter alter uter totus alias. Unus nauta, which translates in Latin as one sailor. Unus nauta. But these other 4 pronouns here also get the naughty 9 exception, which is only in genitive and dative singular. So all of these would do that. You don't have to learn them all now. It would be good if you did, but I'm already asking you to learn a lot. But in any case, watch out for this I in the dative, because it's going to be soon the third declension ending, and it is going to be soon the naughty 9 ending. So you should start getting used to that. Hearing E as a 2 or 4, not just as a genitive singular or a nominative plural, but now also as a dative 2 or 4 of any gender. So yeah, this is going to be different. So the first 2 here are going to go to me and to you, and then to him or her at E, and to himself or herself, and we're not going to do plurals yet. Okay, so just singulars so far. All right, so he pleases to me. Yeah, this human being down here is always going to be me. The girl here is always going to be you. So pretend like you and this girl are talking, and there's these 2 people over here also in the room. So whenever you see the arrow go to this person, think me, and whenever you see it go to the girl, think you. Okay, so this one would be he pleases to me. What would that be? Well, look at your charts that we were just at. First person singular, mihi, 2 or 4 me. And there it is. And last, pick up your verb, placet. He pleases me. All right, she pleases you. What would that be? A tibi placet, right? Okay, so try it yourselves. Here we go. He pleases her. What would that be? Here it is. She pleases him. What would that be? Same thing. What about he pleases himself? Good. Hope you got it. It's sibi placet. All right. She pleases herself. Same thing. What about you please yourself? Not until chapter 15. And I please myself? Again, not until chapter 15. All right. Okay, now we're going to do the plurals. So these are nobis, vobis, eis, and sibi. To us, to y'all, to them, and to oneselves. Alrighty, so here we go. So nos is going to become nobis, vos is going to become vobis, and ei is going to become eis. And oneselves is going to become sibi. Then we're going to also have these demonstratives that demonstrate this and that, or in the plurals, these and those. So to this one, it's huic. To that one over there is illi. To these is his, and to those is illis. Now, you're used to the I ending here. But what is the C thing? Well, the C is in all kinds of Romance languages like French and Italian, qu'est-ce que c'est que ça in French, or che in Italian, or qui in Spanish. That always means here. So in Latin, it probably would have been like huique, but right now we just say huic. So, but that C means like right here. So this one here, not just this one. So like not just this one, but this one here. So huic to this one. And that C occurs in seveul places here. Hike, honk, hawk, hawk, hike, hoke, hawk, hunk, hunk, hick. So all of these in green have lots of C's here. Yeah, the singular of this is crazy. I'm so sorry. We'll study these a lot more extensively in the next chapter 9, so don't panic right now trying to memorize them all. But just watch out today for huic and illy and heath and illies. Also nobis, wobis, eis. So here are your possible agents or subjects. This one feminine, these, that one feminine, and those. And then as ultimate recipients of the action, you're going to use those dative forms. So the first one is going to be, he pleases unto us. What would that be? Nobis. Remember from your chart a couple slides ago? He pleases us. Is nobis placet. What about those please us? Like those ones over there. Illi nobis placent, right? Okay, so you try the rest of these. Now this one is involving you and someone else is y'all. So we had we over here. This one's going to be y'all because it's a group including the you girl here. What's that going to be? Right, wobies. These please unto y'all. These please y'all. What about this one pleases y'all? Hick. Hopefully you can get it. Right. What about this one pleases them? Okay. What would they please us be? Good, very nice. That one pleases y'all. They please themselves. Ei sibi what? Placent. Very good. Now you know you should be saying all these out loud in Latin while I'm doing this. Just letting you know. Just make sure. Sorry. Haha. Oh, too late now. All right, so now, step 4. Now we're going to add a demonstrative pronoun. Either singular, huic, illi, or plural, he's, illis. So this time the people on the outsides can benefit from the action. So like, what would to this one? It would be huic, or also huic if it's feminine. And what would to these be? And he's. Okay? What about 2 or 4 that one, or 2 or 4 those? It would be illi. Same thing with masculine. And plural would be illis. Pretty easy. So we've got huic and he's and illi, illis. Great. Let's try it. What's about he pleases this one? Is. Nice. What about she pleases this one? Good. What about that woman pleases that guy? cat. Okay, pretty simple. What about these over here please that woman? Okay. What about she pleases this one? Those please these. Okay. This one pleases those. Alrighty, lunchtime! See ya in the second video, in which we are going to throw in an accusative and learn the function of datives as indirect objects.
Walete.